What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is the Real Housewives of Atlanta. What are we on? I don't know why. Child, that lets you know I always forget. Season 14, episode 4. So, we start this episode off. We see Marlo is building a home. And honestly, I was kind of thinking that. Because when we started filming this season and we were still at the same place, I said, Marlo, you still in this same townhouse? Now, let's be clear. I ain't shading it, but it just seemed like the type of person Marlo is. I would figure she would have moved somewhere by now. But she is building a custom home. And I don't know if y'all caught the shade, but I caught the shade. The two people out of the whole cast that she invited to come and see her plot of land with her building her custom home are the two women out that are the most infamous on this show for having a home built. And she even said, you know, hopefully I won't make the same mistakes they made and fall into the same pit holes that they fell into. But we have Sheree and we have Kenya. So they were talking about, you know, they looked at the floor plans and the floor plans looked nice. Kenya knew what she was talking about, honey. But I guess she should. She been building and rebuilding her abode since she bought it. Remember, it was a foreclosure that needed work or was half finished or whatever. So she's used to looking at floor plans and stuff like that. So then they got to talking about Marlo they said, well, I'm surprised you're not, you know, you moving out of Buckhead. She said, listen, I'm a Buckhead girl, but I can't afford them Buckhead house prices. She said, I know y'all think I'm rich, but... And they were like, girl, you the one always talking about your money. No, y'all always the one trying to figure out where I get my money from. They were like, no, you always talking about how much money you have. I think it's a little bit of both. I think people question where Marlo gets her money from to continue to live the lifestyle that she lives. But Marlo, you play that lifestyle up too, okay? I think it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So then... they're talking about, they asked Sheree, is Tyrone gonna meet them in New York? And she says, well, you know, but they asked Kenya, are you gonna see Mark? And she was like, no, I think I'm just gonna take Brooklyn and the nanny over to him. No, I don't think I need to see him, which I thought was a good idea. You don't need to see him. They asked if Tyrone was coming, and Sheree said, well, he did put in the paperwork to ask for permission. You know, he's on house arrest and he can't travel more than 100 miles. Well, from Philly, which is where he's, or house arrest, to New York, it's not 100 miles. However, he's supposed to be home by 9 o'clock, or I think she said 9 o'clock, and so he just wanted to make sure that it'll be good, okay for him to go, and all that good stuff. Then we see Candy and Todd talking, and again, I feel like they're having the same conversation about him needing support and him not getting support, and Candy not supporting him. And then they were talking about the house. He said, yeah, you know, going to New York would be cool. We could swing by the condo and you could take a look at the condo. Now, listen, Candy don't want no parts of that condo. I feel like, and we'll talk more about it when we get to the condo, Todd, I don't think Todd is looking at it from the point of view of, this is someplace I used to live with my ex-girlfriend. I think Todd is looking at it from the point of view of, this is something I can bring to the table. This is something I can bring to the portfolio. You know, you own this home. You own this home when we got together. I lived here, even though you entertained other men here before me, you know. And I'm just not understanding why you don't understand why it's important to me that I have this, you know. Anyway, we'll talk more about the condo later, but Candy just can't see it from that point of view. And Todd, he doesn't feel like he's being heard. I mean, I just feel like he doesn't feel like he's being heard, and I don't think he feels like he's being respected in this moment. Child, then we get to Drew and Ralph and the marriage counselor. They arguing about date night and about Drew bringing up the problems they were having, and that Ralph just wanted to have a date night and why she can't live in the moment. So the marriage counselor said, listen, Drew, I do feel like you could have just lived in the moment. He was trying to do something nice. You could have just enjoyed the moment, which is what I said. But then he said, but I think y'all need to understand how y'all talk to each other. Y'all talk to each other crazy. And what was funny was, I guess in a therapy session Drew had with the doctor, with their therapist, the therapist said something about Ralph is a maniac or something. Girl, she done repeated it to Ralph. So the doctor had to get both of them together and say, listen, this is not about me. This is about y'all. So I feel like for future reference, when y'all get into y'all arguments, don't bring me up. I don't have nothing to do with this. Okay. Before we get deeper into that, why is Anthony still working for you, Drew? Talking about, well, we run our business like a corporation, and we put him on probation, and girl, I wish I would see. First of all, you didn't make him sign an NDA, because if you made him sign an NDA and he's out here telling y'all's personal business, now whether it's true or whether it's not true, because if he, let's just assume for a minute that what he said about Ralph is a lie. Well, if he's telling a lie, he's telling truths too. He's telling people that your light bill got cut off because you paid it late. He's telling people that the nanny left the kids alone while she went outside to smoke a blunt. Like, he's telling y'all business. If he's making up fake stories, trust and believe he's telling the real ones, okay? So, if you made him sign an NDA, I'm sorry, there is no probation. Sir, you have violated your contract. That is grounds for immediate termination. Bye. Go get your money from, Sheree. Anyway, back to them in this therapy session. So, the therapist is going to tell them, y'all have to go 30 days without being harsh with each other. Y'all have to go 30 days without saying a harsh word, about being, and without elevating your voice. And whoever can't make it through the 30 days, then they have to basically be at the other person's beck and call and do whatever they want for 24 hours. That's the dumbest shit I have ever heard in my life. First of all, Dr. Marriage Counselor, if they could go 30 days without saying something mean to each other, and if they could go 30 days and learn how to use their words and communicate well, they wouldn't need you. Second of all, you saying that the consequence is, well, that means that you have to be at the person who wins beck and call for 24 hours. And if you don't want to lose, then just don't do it. Sir, were you sitting in front of the same couple that I was sitting in front of? Because the couple that I was sitting in front of, they can't do that. They can't do that. Anyway, whatever. So next thing you know, Candy done sent out these living invitations to New York. First of all, Patrick and Patrick girlfriend / fiance, if y'all don't get y'all ass walk around damn Atlanta half dressed with whips and shit, delivering sex toys to Candy's friends, look, I'm with Kenya on this one. Candy, look, I love you, Candy. And listen, I ain't mad at Candy for turning everything into an opportunity to make some money. Cause let's be clear, I'm not fooled into forgetting about the fact that Candy uses every opportunity to plug her products. Cause she was delivering Bedroom by Candy sex toys. I'm cool with that. I get that. But listen, we're gonna have to find a more opportune moment. Y'all are going to New York to see your play. As the first black director, first all black cast, all black production company, you trying to win a Tony, and you out here delivering sex toys. Candy, stop. I'm sorry. I like you, Candy, and I'm all here for you turning every moment into a Kodak moment and trying to make the money wherever you can make the money. But girl, you got 5,672 businesses. You couldn't have delivered gift cards down to the Blaze. There was nothing about this. First of all, this wasn't even supposed to be a couple's trip. I mean, it ended up being a couple's trip. But originally, you asked them to go as a girl's trip, and you just said, well, y'all can bring a date if y'all want to. So, this wasn't even supposed to be a couple situation. Why are you delivering sex toys? Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't like it. Call me a prude. Call me what you want. I didn't like it. So, of course, the girls are talking about, Candy and her sex toys, child. So, neither here nor there. So Candy gets a Sprinter and has everybody meet at her house. It looks like they taking a flight at dark 30, child, because it's still dark outside when they loading up the Sprinter and get ready to head to the airport. Now, Candy said that's because everybody is always late, and that way won't nobody miss their plane. The way I feel about it is, if you ain't buy their plane ticket, I don't know why you care. Because New York ain't but a hop, skip, and a jump. It's a 2-hour flight from Atlanta, maybe 2.5-hour flight from Atlanta. If they miss this one, they can catch another one. Hell, the plane ain't till the next day. But it's all good. Everybody on the Sprinter. And of course, all the couples are showing up. So Kenya shows up and she feels some kind of way about it. She was like, shit, if I knew this was a couple's trip, I wish Candy had told me. I would have been more prepared. First of all, Candy said you could bring a date. She said it's going to be a girl's trip, but I think Drew asked, well, can we bring can we bring our husbands? And she said, sure, you can bring a date. So first of all, that automatically means Sonya, Drew, Candy gonna have husbands with them. That's just automatic, okay? So that leaves Marlo, that leaves Sheree, and then that leaves Kenya. Well, Sheree allegedly meeting her boo thing up in New York, so of course she's not gonna bring nobody with her. So that just leaves Marlo and Kenya. Kenya, you wasn't gonna bring no date. So even if Candy had said this a couple's trip, you wasn't gonna bring no date. Now maybe you would have decided not to come, but it wasn't a couple's trip. She just said you could bring a date. Shit, it was what it was. Anyway, we get on the plane. We get to New York. So they get to the hotel. They check in. Candy says, "Listen, I got an extra." They have food waiting for them up in the penthouse. Candy said, "Listen, I got an extra penthouse suite. If y'all can tell the best sex story, where was the most outrageous place you've ever had sex?" So, child, it ended up being who could tell the best lie. Sonya said her and her husband became part of the Mile High Club on their way to Dubai. Okay. Drew and Ralph said they had sex out in the ocean with the dolphins watching. Okay. All right. Y'all don't want those like rafts that float out like at the resort and they float out in the middle of the ocean, and that's where y'all were, because what you won't doing was swimming close enough to the dolphins without no type of flotation devices on, having sex. But it's Drew, girl, it's okay. Then Marlo said she had sex at the zoo with the giraffe watching, and I think she had them going until she said that the giraffe came over and licked her face. That's what did it. That's when they were like, Marlo, you lying. So Kenya said she was out with a date. They was camping. He liked to hunt, and the coyote was chasing them, and they ran from the coyote, and they ran for shelter, and then they had sex. I said, while the coyote was still chasing y'all? Baby, Kenya won just because Kenya told such a colorful story that I ain't gonna say everybody believes, because we know they didn't believe the story. But she got the room. She got the room, honey. So everybody getting ready to go to dinner. We had Ralph and Drew. Drew done got Ralph rubbing her feet, child. Talking about that's part of our 30 days of being nice to each other. Sonya getting her makeup done, worried about Drew. And her assistant, girl, whatever. Marlo and Sheree are sitting around trying to talk about who they think the biggest freak of the group is outside of Candy and Todd. And then they get ready to go to dinner, but on their way to dinner, they gonna stop by Todd's condo, because I guess Todd want everybody to see the condo. I don't know. So they get to the condo. It's in New Jersey, so it's about I felt like they rode for about 40-50 minutes, and everybody agrees that the condo is nice. It needs some work, it needs some modernizing, it needs some upgrading. And Miss Kenya is vying for a DIY show, because she's talking about all the renovations she could do and interior decorating and how much it's gonna cost and this and this and this and that. But ultimately, at the end, everybody decides that Todd should keep the property. He should renovate it, and he should, keep the property. This is how I feel that y'all should do it. This is what I think y'all should do with that property. And Candy said when she comes to New York, she don't want to worry about having to clean up and be. She want to stay at a hotel where somebody clean up behind her, and she could just enjoy her stay. And Todd was like, see, you hear the word me, I, me, me. Todd, this is what you need to do with that damn condo. Now Kenya had some good ideas. I ain't even gonna front. Renovate that damn condo and rent that shit out. Okay, Airbnb that shit. And then when y'all do want to go to New York, you just block those dates out and you stay there yourself, if that's what y'all choose to do, because that's what you want to do. Candy ain't interested in doing it. Y'all can split the baby as far as I'm concerned. Okay, listen, Airbnb that thing, make it make money. And then when y'all are going to New York, you just make those dates unavailable. That's what I would do. Then the renovations would pay for themselves in about, I would say, probably about a year if you Airbnb that thing. Moving on. But ultimately, Candy tells him, listen, do what you want with it. But she don't sound happy, which means that she gonna keep whining and bitching and complaining about it. But anyway, so they get to dinner, and they having a nice dinner. So of course at dinner somehow we get to talking about Drew and Ralph, about the fact that Drew's not wearing her wedding ring, and she said, once I started wearing my ring once I gained the weight with the baby, and then after I lost the weight and I could put my ring back on, we were having problems, so I didn't wear it. But she was like, you know what, you're right. I should put my ring back on, and we're not allowed to argue with each other. We're not allowed to fight with each other. For 30 days. That's what our therapist said. So then they get to talking about the damn assistant again. And Rock was like, it's just ridiculous. Like, it's just ridiculous that we're even arguing about it. Like, and so all the ladies are like, but Rock, you have to understand why Drew felt the way she felt. Like, you got to know that this looked crazy. You have to acknowledge that this was crazy. But it's not what it looked like. It's not as bad as it seems. It's not as bad as they was like, but it looked that way. Like, you have to acknowledge that this was crazy looking. So Kenya starts saying, you remind me so much of Mark. So of course, Bravo had to flashback to all the times that Mark was gaslighting Kenya. And Kenya was like, you know what? She was like, stop, Ralph. Like, you sitting here making these excuses, and you gotta stop. Like, if you were my husband saying the things that you're saying, I would be so pissed off right now. Now, Kenya, I just feel like it took you a long time to get to where you are right now. So give Drew her time to get to where she needs to get to. But Drew got upset and she was crying, and people at the table calling Ralph an asshole. And then why did it come up about what Anthony said about Ralph? Because see, Drew hadn't told Ralph about what Anthony said about him being gay. Drew ain't told nobody. And so what happened was they started flipping it on Drew, saying, well, you know what? I think that sometimes Marlo was like, Drew has to take some responsibility for this too, because, she ain't innocent in this. So then the table was like, yeah, we know she not innocent. You right. Drew does need to take some responsibility. And they were like, yeah, because you got mad at, Sheree's friend. Candy was like, but you didn't even get mad at your assistant, who was the one out here telling y'all's business. So of course now Ralph's in there looking crazy, like, tell her what business? What's she talking about? Baby, they were like, oh, I'm talking about the fact that you gay. Ralph was like, what? That I'm who? So of course Drew's sitting there looking crazy, because you should have told your husband. Something like that is serious. And I'm going to tell you my problem. You still got that man up in y'all's house, and you didn't even tell your husband what he running around town saying. It's one thing if you say you're going to put him on probation, but that should have been a joint conversation after you told your husband what he said. Because if the situation had been reversed, Drew, and that assistant that you got such a problem with was running around town telling y'all's business, you would have a whole problem with it. So the fact that your assistant is running around telling y'all's business, whether it is true or not, people are going to assume that it's true because you have access to them. You are living in their home. So people are going to assume that you're seeing things and that you're hearing things that are leading you to draw this conclusion. Baby, that's where it ended. So I guess we'll get the rest of this argument next week. Anyway, talk to y'all later. Peace.